Hey there, this is Megan from Growing Up Herbal, and today Judah and his brothers and I are going to walk down the road and we're going to show you how to identify one of my favorite herbs. This is an herb that I use a lot with the boys, and let's see, this was actually the first herb that I learned to identify in the wild, and it was the first herb that you learned to identify too, right? Okay, so what is the herb that we're going to go find today?
Yarrow.
Yarrow. It's called yarrow, alright? And we're going to show you how you will be able to identify it when you're walking down the road with your family. And then later on in the blog post, I'm going to write up some uses and tell you a little bit about the history of yarrow and give you examples of ways that you can actually use it with your family. Alright? So let's go. Alright, so the boys and I are on a walk down the road today, and we came across this big patch of yarrow. And the way we spotted it is because of all of the bright white flowers all over it. This is a pretty big patch of yarrow. Normally we only see like one or two little sprigs coming up, but yarrow is really easy to identify. In fact, it's the first herb that Judah learned to identify when we were out for a walk, and actually I think it was the first herb I learned to identify out in the wild. But today I'm going to show you up close what yarrow looks like so you can look for it when you're out on a walk with your family. So the main way that I learned to identify yarrow was the flowers, because wild yarrow, the flowers are white, and you can find some varieties I think that are pastel, but if you see yarrow that is like bright pink or purple, those are not wild yarrow, those are hybrids, and they don't have as much medicine in them as the wild yarrow does. But anyway, so here are the white flowers, and you can see they're kind of, the stem branches off in a lot of different places, and then again they continue just to branch off. I think that's called spidering. They just keep branching. And I don't know if you can see that or not, if that's too blurry, but it's tiny little white flowers. They've got a little yellow center and about 4 or 5 white petals along each flower. And you know, they're not too big, they're just really little. And they usually, like I said, grow in clumps. Now, you can see this is the main stem right here, and it goes, let's see if I can move this out of the way, it goes all the way down into the ground there, and all up the stem are these leaves, and the leaves are kind of like fern leaves. They're really feathery and they're really soft, and they just branch out all over the place. Can you see that?
Yep.
Leaf. Can you see it, Judah?
Yes.
Okay, good. Alright, so you can see all those leaves. Now, if you were to harvest this yarrow and dry it, you could put your hand down here on the bottom and pull all those leaves off to get the leaves.
Mama, is that really right?
Is what right?
Is it really right that you can dry it and pull the leaves off?
It makes it come off really quick, so you don't have to pick every single leaf off. It makes it a lot easier. Alright, so that's pretty much how you can identify yarrow, by the little white flowers with the yellow centers and then these feather-like leaves all over them. Alright, and later on in the post, I will explain to you the legend of yarrow and some of the uses and the parts of this plant that you use. We won't talk about it in the video because that may make it a little too long, but I just wanted you to be able to see what yarrow looks like. Now, let's see, yarrow blooms late spring through fall, but at the end of spring, or maybe even early spring, the flowers won't be on there, so you'll have to pay attention to see if you can see just these feathery leaves starting to come up from the ground. And it grows about, you know, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet tall. So in early spring, mid-spring, something like that, it's going to be lower to the ground, and all you're going to be able to look for are these feather leaves coming up. And when you see that, then you're going to have a good clue that that's a patch of yarrow, and you can just watch for it to come up and bloom. And then late spring, early summer, you can harvest it. And yarrow is very aromatic. Like if I broke this leaf off and I can rub it between my fingers and I can smell it, and it smells really strong. And even if you come across a patch of yarrow in the winter and you can tell that it's all dried up, you can still break a piece off and rub it between your fingers and smell it and see if it smells strong. If it smells strong, then the properties of the plant are still in there and you can use it. But if it doesn't smell, then it's good and dead, and you'll have to wait till next spring or order some online. Alright, so I hope this helped you learn to see yarrow in the wild and identify it. And like I said, at the end of the post, I'm going to give you a bunch of other little tidbits about yarrow, alright? Talk to you guys later.